Hello, I'm David, co-founder of Neum AI. Have you ever wanted to have more visibility into your RAG pipeline? Things like what documents are indexed, are they up to date, who is using them, and how? Stick around as I show you some of the new features coming to Neum AI that are going to help you solve these issues. So I'll start here on a Juju Notebook where I have generated a very simple pipeline for Neum AI using our open source framework. In this pipeline, I'm simply taking some files that I have on an S3 bucket. I'm pushing those files into a Weaviate index and embedding everything with OpenAI. And I'm going ahead and running this pipeline so that all the data gets copied over. And so I've preemptively done this just to make sure that it ran. And the other thing I did is I ran a bunch of queries against this pipeline. And the documents that I have within the S3 are all about FAQs about ice cream. If you've seen these videos before, you've seen me use them. But for each of these searches, I enabled tracking so that we store the retrieval results, as well as I added a requested by object to know what user actually made the query. And so now that I have my data already copied over and I've done some searches over it, we can now show you some of the analytics that we built on top of this. And so we have this handy Jupyter Notebook. It's all open source. You can find it in our GitHub repo, where we show you how to do this step by step. And so I'll start by initiating our Neum client, which we're going to be using to get the information. And I'll start by showing you some of the basic observability capabilities, starting with pipelines. So the first thing that we have is I have the ability to see all the different pipelines that we have created within my account, as well as the amount of time that they took to run. And I'm able to very simply plot this out. You can see how I've created pipelines. This is my test history of how I've created pipelines over time. And I can also take a look at what the runtimes for those pipelines are. So runtime is something that we added recently, so only a couple of pipelines have that information, but you can see how long it took for them to run. So you can see that one took about 120 seconds, 2 minutes, the other one took about 20. I can then go one level deeper into each pipeline and take a look at the files within them. So we deconstruct everything that is moving to the pipeline into the files that are actually moving. And so I can see that for this latest pipeline that I ran, there's 3 files that got pulled out of the S3, which is correct. That S3 only has 3 files. And I can see the status for them. And I can see that they were all synced already. I can see that it took about 7 seconds to process them. And I can also plot these statuses. So I can see that all of them are synced. In case that you might have hundreds or thousands of files, some of them might be synced, some of them might still be syncing, some of them might have failed. Having these statuses is super helpful. I can also take a look at when these updates happen. So I can see that all the files, obviously since I just ran the pipeline, got modified today. But in cases where you might have data that is continuously being synced, some of the files might end up syncing in different days. So you might want to be able to have that visibility. Finally, I can see the processing time, and I can see that it's pretty much the same across all the files that we have within the pipeline. The next aspect of observability that I want to show is when it comes to search results. So for the pipeline, I ran about 20 searches against it. And so I can take a look at what those searches look like. So I can see that there were 20 searches, retrievals done against this pipeline on this day. And again, this will show you the history so that as different searches come in on different days, you can see the history of search within your pipeline. As well as you can dive into that search history more specifically in terms of what files are being searched on. And this is specifically, in the case of retrieval, I had it set so that it would retrieve up to 3 chunks per retrieval, which means that there might be up to 3 files being retrieved on a single search. And so I can see how often different files are being retrieved and if there's any specific file that might be getting more action than others. So that is the basis for observability. Now we'll head into the concept of auditing. And I'll start by, again, just initializing our client and some helper functions and starting by showing you auditing information around the search of pipelines. So the first thing I can see is I have all these users that I created. These are just like random IDs that I gave the users at retrieval time, but I can see how and when they're searching. So I can see that user number 10, for example, has done 3 searches, same as 4 and 5. We see that some others are only doing 1. So this is helpful to understand what users are using what and how often are they engaging with the pipelines. I can also see how those users are searching across files. So I can see that across different files, when are they being requested? And I can see that same view of users, but against a specific file. So in this case, I picked a file out of the different files that were available there. And I can see that against this file, user 10, for example, has searched against it all three times, versus the others might only have searched once. This is helpful in terms of being able to audit what users are touching what files, and also understanding if where information is coming from when you have retrievals. I can also take a look at this view from like a user perspective. So for a given user across multiple pipelines, what is their search history? I can also take a look at this across files. And so this is also just helpful in terms of auditing the behaviors of users and being able to know if a user is engaging with a pipeline that they should not be, or if you want to be able to trace or have lineage of where that data is coming from, you can do it this way. And so similarly, I can see the retrievals across time. And similarly, here I go kind of one level deeper into looking at the user's behavior against a single pipeline. Before we were looking at multiple, as well as the user's behavior against a specific file. So given the file that we had before, how many times have they searched against it? So again, just being able to like really dig deep into the different types of areas that the user might be touching and what they're doing. So that was a really fast look at some of the analytics that we're working on. There's a ton more that we're excited to share, including dashboards that you can access directly without having to go through a Jupyter Notebook. For now, though, if this was something that you found exciting or something that your business needs, feel free to head into the link of the Jupyter Notebook that we're hosting in GitHub so you can get your hands on it, as well as let us know. Please either contact us or set up some time with us, and we're happy to walk you through the demos as well as answer any additional questions that you might have. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you in the next one.